Welcome in to the Great Debate!
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
That was enthusiastic. That was I think you're really excited to be going to Chicago here.
That was feigned enthusiasm. That was all performance. There was no passion in that introduction.
Oh,
Not at all.
come on now.
The real debate is whether that was
hear a tape
genuine.
recorder clicking before that
Oh,
intro
yeah?
there.
That was canned?
That was play, record, pause, play.
Uh-huh. All right, ladies and gentlemen, well, let's talk about today's debate. So we're going to be talking about the best movie trilogy, and we've got some good ones on tap today. We're going to be talking Indiana Jones versus Back to the Future, Aliens taking on Die Hard, and Spider-Man taking on Christopher Nolan's Batman. Our debatees for the day, our special guest all the way from up north in Canada, Mike the Greek.
Thank you. It is on. This is going to be a debate for the ages.
Oh my!
And then, of course, on the other side of the ring, wearing the camouflage shorts and black T-shirt, Rob.
Me.
Woo! Yeah!
I don't need a box of Timbits during my segment to sound like a pro.
I'm telling you, man. It's fuel. It's Canadian fuel.
We should throw this out there that, yeah, some of these franchises we're talking about have fourth and fifth installments, but we're going to try to, we can include them and stuff, but these are like, the trilogies. At the heart of it was like, well, what trilogy is better, like Indy or Back to the Future? Now,
So there's a suspension of disbelief here.
Yeah, a little bit, because there's a few that we're leaving out. Of course, we're not talking Star Wars, which has, two trilogies you could talk about. And we're not talking Bond, which has like 23 films, right?
Yeah.
So, we're trying to get a little picky, and we're trying to pick like the three first ones, I would say.
Absolutely.
All right.
Okay.
Fair enough. All right, let's get to it. Gentlemen, everybody stretch it out. That's right. Get your hammies all loose. We're good to go. Crack your neck, maybe your knuckles.
It's fucking on.
Take a deep breath. Here we go. Round one.
All right, let's do this.
Indiana Jones taking on Back to the Future. Of course, our special guest goes first. Mike the Greek, take it away.
Oh, I mean, in terms of just creating this multi-layered universe of sci-fi, action-adventure, something that appealed to all ages, Back to the Future trilogy really takes it home. I mean, there's this cultural universe that still flickers today. Like, people know Back to the Future, like they know those classic lines, those classic sequences. It's just timeless, and wow, what a tight trilogy, not marred by unnecessary sequels after Back to the Future 3. It's just tight.
All right, fair enough. And here we go. Rob, take it away.
Now, unfortunately, Mike the Greek, everything that you just said could be applied to the Indiana Jones trilogy.
True.
Quotable lines, memorable sequences, iconography. But the one thing that you're forgetting is the Back to the Future trilogy probably wouldn't exist if it wasn't for the fame that Spielberg got and the notoriety that he got for being able to set up an independent franchise with Indiana Jones. He was able to do Raiders and Temple of Doom before Back to the Future was even off the ground. Back to the Future was a script that nobody believed in whatsoever, except for Bob Gale and Zemeckis, of course, who didn't have much going for them beforehand, and they were trying to get that made. I think before was it True Romance or Romancing the Stone or something like that. They didn't have much going on for them until Spielberg came along and did that. And the only way Spielberg was able to get that made is because of the love that Indy had going on. I mean, you want to talk about iconography and how to set up a trilogy, it's Indiana Jones. Now, sure, you can argue that the fourth Indy didn't need to exist, but the fact was there was enough fan demand for it to exist. And if there was enough fan demand and dollars out there, believe me, there would have been another Back to the Future movie. You want to talk about films in the trilogy? You say it's solid? Well, I'm going to have to kind of call negative Ghost Rider on that one, because the second one is so...
Negative Ghost Rider?
You heard me. The second one is so flawed in its own logic that it gets caught up in its own time continuum that it sacrifices, the quality motivations for the whole thing. Doc Brown on a chalkboard points out that how you can't go forward once you've altered things in the past, yet old Biff, when he drops the book off in 1955, goes forward to give Doc and Marty, who are in the future, the time machine. So the whole story hinges on that crux because they can't go forward and stop old Biff from taking the book, and yet they have to go with it because they don't know how to write out of whole. It's also a trilogy that all the main characters from the first film didn't even want to be in the second or third one. And when you get to the third film, a boring Wild West showdown that's shown every Sunday on TBS, the characters that people remember most from the first one are relegated to cameo appearances with bad Irish accents.
All right, Mike the Greek, counterpoint, and go.
Okay, first of all, yeah, I was waiting for you to mention Crystal Skull. I didn't want to be obvious. What a way to kill a legend. I mean, I've never seen so much hatred towards whatever you wanted to call that piece of filth. I mean, it's like what it did for me for the franchise is it really lowered it. It's kind of like when you take a perfect franchise that was the original Star Wars and you add the awful prequels to it. It just damages it, in my opinion. Whereas Back to the Future sticks to its universe. Indiana Jones lost sight of where it needed to go. I mean, bring in UFOs and awful CG and trying to do this passing of the torch story. It just didn't work. I think, again, when you have something that's perfect and great, like the Indiana Jones trilogy was, you should just leave it alone, leave it in its lore rather than prostitute it through unnecessary sequels. Okay, yes, you may say that people were divided on Back to the Future 3 because it was a Western, but I mean, I don't really know where you're going with this whole confusing storyline. Yeah, there were some liberties taken with some of the logic.
Liberties?
But overall, why? Because
Gentlemen.
one time machine that comes back, I'm sure that you can find a way to explain it. I remember when when Back to the Future 2
when the game came out, yep.
The movie, thank you, Mr. Sarcastic, it was met with divisiveness. Okay, first of all, people were saying it was too confusing. I've never since I was a kid gotten that argument. I thought it was perfectly taught up. I recently watched the trilogy again. It makes sense from a logical standpoint. Yeah, there might be a loose end here or two, but not the moppy
here
mess
or
that,
two.
There's no cohesive universe to Indiana Jones. I mean, it just seems like it's a bunch of set pieces.
All right, wrap it up.
Time eras around the 1930s, but really at least Hill Valley it's kind of like The Walking Dead or something like that.
5
it's its own
seconds.
universe. It's very tight. That's what makes it better.
You're trying to use The Walking Dead as your crutch. That's probably not the best tactic right now, considering what's going on in the series.
All right, Rob,
The
counterpoint.
hottest show on TV
But
right now.
yeah, just because it's the best in numbers doesn't mean it's the best out there. I mean, they have to kill people off to keep people to watching. But that's another argument for another time.
I gotta kill somebody off.
Mike, I got to tell you, we're talking trilogies here, and you spent a good 6 to 7 minutes there talking about the fourth movie. We're talking trilogies, man. We're talking 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. Now,
right.
But that's okay. Round 2, we'll talk about the Die Hard movies if you want. No problem. We'll talk Die Hard 4 and 5, even if you want to talk Aliens 4. That's okay.
Stay on task.
Back to the Future. It all comes down to that it's a comedy thing that is short-lived and only really has a good reminiscing feel and nostalgia for people in North America. Indy transcends the entire globe. It's still, even with Crystal Skull, one of the franchises that people want to come back to. It is essentially James Bond in the adventure action genre, and no matter what the decade that it takes place in, whether it's the 30s, 40s, or 50s, people love a good treasure story. It would be a great kind of premise for an indie filmmaker to tackle, with somebody going in search of something, maybe with other family members.
Who ever
drawn
wanted
into
to
it.
revisit that universe? Ever since Crystal Skull, which was that one attempt, nobody cares anymore.
Nobody cares anymore. This is my final point. Everybody cares. Everybody's
Gentlemen,
dying for Indy 5. That's all that matters. Nobody wants to revisit Back to the Future because they know time travel is the worst kind of thing to write out of.
Gentlemen, that's demerits for both of you.
I'll
Dear
take that
Lord.
demerit, thank you.
All right. So you've both said what you had to say. We're going to move on to round 2. Aliens versus Die Hard. Mike the Greek. Let's keep it condensed to 2 minutes. And go.
Okay, fine. Die Hard moves forward, Aliens moves backwards. Okay, who needs prequels? Who needs Prometheus? The Die Hard story just keeps moving forward, and it has focus. Okay, and it has a good central character who we can cling to. Is Ripley dead? No. Has she come back? Is she dead? Who's dead? Who's alive? Who's coming back? The Aliens universe is just a constant respawn of like all these characters that should have just stayed dead. Whereas at least in Die Hard, we have a progression through the storyline and the years, which culminates, of course, with the passing of the torch in Live Free or Die Hard.
All right, and Rob, take it away.
I can't believe you would make that argument against Indiana Jones for why are they exploiting the franchise and how newer installments wreck what was good, and then go on to say that about Die Hard. Every film that Die Hard has done since the first one has only lowered the quality of that storyline. There is no progression in Die Hard. It's just boring, flat out. You know, how many different set pieces can we throw at John McClane for him to survive against? This is the only franchise I can think of that has strayed the furthest away from what made the film good. Mike, not too long ago, you were on here saying that Die Hard 1 was about a guy stuck in a single contained place up against insurmountable odds. And from the second film, and the third, and the fourth, and the fifth, they've gone out of their way to get away from that in an exponential ways. This couldn't be further from what made the first film great. John McClane, if he progresses, he's progressing in a grave. All he's doing is turning, and he has no business being on the screen anymore. And the most recent one, I don't even fucking remember the name of it. It's A Good Day to Die Hard. Well, it was A Good Day to Die Hard about 20 years ago, like when that franchise should have ended. Now, Aliens, you want to talk about Ridley Scott making a masterpiece in the first one, in Alien. And then you got James Cameron taking over in Aliens. Fucking phenomenal. Then David Fincher doing Alien 3. Like, you can't get a better group of fucking directors together to do it. Yeah, Alien 3 is definitely not the strongest of the three, but when you're up against Ridley Scott and James Cameron, that's not exactly surprising at all either.
All right, Mike the Greek, counterpoint.
How can you talk about a lack of progression? I mean, John McClane, we see, okay, yeah, you may be talking about set pieces and different villains and maybe an expansion of the world, but at the heart of these stories is there's a true through line of his relationship to his wife and to his kids, which slowly degrades over the course of the films. As he's becoming the bigger action hero, you see a converse downward spiral of his narrative, which really culminates when he's just this man who's alone, who has to reunite with his son for a fifth sequel. I see a lot more pathos there than I could ever see in Alien, where I think the closest we ever got to a family story was really in Aliens. But even that, it didn't last. There was nothing really connecting a lot of these characters throughout the different worlds. It just felt cold and it felt scientific, like the subject matter, but there was no real sense of family as there is in Die Hard. And I think that's what really makes the series better, in the sense that it resonates with audiences on that human level.
And Rob, final comment for round two.
The fact that you put an argument forward like because Die Hard is family-friendly material makes it the better.
Friendly.
Well, no, you're saying it's family. There's a familial theme through it that audiences can connect with more. You're saying that Die Hard touches on the family more, and that's what makes it better. Is absolutely ludicrous. If you had seen this recent one, you would see how quickly they abandoned anything to do with family, and how they desperately try to tack on anything to do with it with like fucking chewing gum at the most awkward places. They're even stretching for that in this one, man. And there is no progression with John McClane because he's still estranged from every family member. There is no arc. There is no progression whatsoever. You want to talk about a family bond? Well, flip it around and see what the aliens are actually going through in Alien and whatnot. There's the whole family unit and what it's like to be threatened by outsiders. You're talking to the Mother Queen and all the drones. That's the closest you get to family. And technology is the one that's intercepting it and negating it. I mean, I could throw $10 words out there too if you want to talk about culmination and narratives. But the fact is, Alien is actually a much more relatable experience to the audience, Mike, because everybody knows what it's like to be isolated in a scared and dark place with the unknown surrounding them and nobody they can trust. Mike, don't forget, in space, no one can hear you scream.
All right, moving on.
$2 answer to a $10 word. But anyway.
All right, we are moving on to round three.
At least I'm not a 25-cent person.
Oh, Jesus.
All right, moving on to round three. We're talking SpiderMan versus Christopher Nolan's Batman. So, Mike the Greek, kick it off.
I think what makes the Raimi Spider-Man trilogy timeless was that it just got it right. I mean,
Oh,
right off
you-
the
Whoa!
get-go-
I thought you were set up to argue Batman. You're changing now on me?
All right, sure, we can flip.
I don't care. It's up to you.
Well, I was actually just gonna say, if you're doing Spider-Man, I feel sorry for you.
You feel sorry for me? I'm gonna prove you wrong. All right, so let's
so
go.
I got Batman now. You got Spider-Man.
You comfortable with that?
That's fine.
All right, fine. All right, so going
This
back
just goes to
Spider-Man,
show, ladies and gentlemen, this is not rigged.
This is how we do. This is how we do.
2 minutes on the clock,
It's just
go.
spontaneous, and anything can happen. Here's what happened. All right, they got it right. Okay, Batman Forever has been struggling to find that merging of the comic book and the movie. There's been different looks, different attempts. Some worked, some didn't.
And you're talking
Whereas
Spider-Man,
with
right?
Raimi's Spider-Man.
Okay.
He got it. That Marvel look. Peter Parker could not have been better casted. I refuse to. I have not seen The Amazing Spider-Man because I refuse to see another Peter Parker. Tobey Maguire got it, and Willem Dafoe was such a great intro as the Green Goblin. And really, the series retained its tone over the 3 sequels. They didn't feel too disparate from each other. And the funny thing is that everybody trashes Spider-Man 3. I thought that was one of the deepest. We got to see Peter's id, we got to see the other Peter. And I thought that was a great acting exercise for Tobey Maguire. And overall, it did really well at the box office. And again, people are very divided in terms of which one's better, and most people tend to think that Raimi's portrayal of Spider-Man really is the definitive one. What a great way to intro a character in the movies without fucking it up the first time around.
And Rob, Batman.
I don't even know what to say because I'm fucking just shaking my head. I mean, we could spend it all just fucking trashing Spider-Man 3. I guess the whole flaw with the argument is Sam Raimi himself. I mean, talk about a filmmaker who didn't need to inject his own style and just let the material take its course. I'll give you this, Mike. Spider-Man movies are fun until Sam Raimi has to do all these crash zooms and all these deadite kind of Evil Dead-like cutting and camera moves. And the design of the Green Goblin is fucking horrible. Mary Jane is a fucking throwaway character. I don't know any guy that really fell in love with her other than fucking Peter Parker on the screen. And you want to talk about recasting him? Maybe you should watch The Amazing Spider-Man, because I thought Andrew Garfield was a much better Peter Parker, a much better, quirky teen as an outsider than Tobey Maguire ever could be. Now, mind you, Tobey Maguire had to play a high school kid and a college kid in the same movie. We'll leave that fucking story point alone just for now. Let's talk about fucking Nolan's Batman. Talk about going back to the source material and setting in a realistic way and launching it from a point where the audience completely understands where Batman is coming from the first movie, where we see Bruce Wayne's id and we see where he's coming from and what he's up against. And in that universe that is just fucking unstoppable and the odds are stacked against him from moment one, and nobody gives him a chance until he throws everything away. He's starting literally at the bottom of the barrel in Batman Begins, and I'll just stop at Batman Begins because that movie's probably better than any of the Spider-Man movies, let alone getting into The Dark Knight with Heath Ledger's Joker. Go ahead, Mike.
All right, Mike.
Let alone, are you
Counterpoint.
actually going to end your argument with the were you talking about The Dark Knight with Heath Ledger, or were you referring to the most recent The Dark Knight Rises? I just want to clarify here.
I said I don't even have to go beyond Batman Begins to
Okay,
battle
please don't,
your colorful
because
trilogy.
Dark Knight Rises, I'm going to say it. It was a travesty. It was boring, okay? It was a masturbatory mess of money where they just let the director go out of control, and that's what happened with the new Batman trilogy. Yes, I will agree with you. Batman Begins was a great start, great reboot, and here's what happened. Christopher Nolan's fucking ego got out of control, and so did the budget, and that's why we end up with the hackneyed mess that The Dark Knight Rises is. There's no story there. I actually was rooting for Bane by the end of it. I hated Bruce Wayne and Batman by the end of that movie. It's just, they took a great idea and Christopher Nolan just hammered it into the ground. At least Raimi had paid respect to the material, and I don't have no idea what you're talking about by like Evil Dead cuts and wipes. I mean, everything's derivative from something. I mean, you can't just credit that editing technique to one single movie. But what's great about Spider-Man is that it didn't feel like Evil Dead. It didn't feel like Army of Darkness at all. It felt like a Marvel comic book movie. It got it right. It felt like exactly what I was expecting to see from a Spider-Man film. And honestly, I've told people that from an auteur perspective, it does not feel like a Raimi film.
Oh my God.
Not even close
Holy
to
fuck.
anything else I've seen by Raimi. Not even close. He's
You
a
got to
horror
get your
man
fucking eyes checked.
doing a comic book movie of a character he's in love with, but at heart, he's a horror man.
All right, and Rob, final point for round 3.
You know what? Let's just take this discussion where it really needs to go. And you know what? We could both say the first entry in both trilogies is pretty solid, maybe even a trade-off. I'm going to say The Dark Knight is better than Spider-Man 2, and it's going to be hard-pressed to kind of top that argument, even if we said it was fucking equal.
Yeah, I mean,
let's move into the third fucking installment here. Dark Knight Rises versus Spider-Man 3. You want to talk about a director who's got an ego and gets over and out of control? Look no further than your own Sam Raimi. He fucking refused to work with screenwriters on Spider-Man 3, and that's why you have not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, but not 6, but 7 different fucking storylines in that mess of a fucking film. That's the fucking textbook case why you don't need more than one fucking villain. You've got 3 villains on the go in fucking Spider-Man 3, and it's super fucking confusing for no fucking reason whatsoever.
I'd say
if it was
7
fucking
storylines are
clear
better
cut
than no
from the
storylines
get-go,
set around a
then it would have been
70s
fine. But it's not clear cut. And you want to talk about a guy who's masturbating all over the fucking screen? Sam Raimi is masturbating all over the screen because he's trying to do the fans lip service by putting fucking Venom in there. Talk about introducing a cool character like the Sandman, who they do lots of good stuff to try to get you on his side by showing the daughter, not having enough money to fucking back him up and stuff, and then fucking throwing him away for the last half of the film.
Okay.
Completely thrown away, and he's not even fucking resolved whatsoever. Not even resolved whatsoever. So let's go back to fucking Dark Knight Rises. At least there's a fucking A, B, and C fucking act in it. Sure, there's a little bit bumpy parts, but we're not getting confused with who the villain is, what the problems are, and who Batman's against. Yes, Bruce Wayne and Batman are all dealing with internal struggles, and that's probably the worst part of the film. But at the end of the day, the goals are clear from moment one. Once Batman decides that he's got to get together and get his shit together, he knows he has to stop Bane. It's just a matter of how he chooses to deal with that. Not, I got to stop this villain, that villain, this villain, and these 4 other personal problems going on in my life.
All right, gentlemen, you both make very compelling arguments. And now it's time where I have to sit back and decipher all this information and come to my ultimate conclusion on what is the best
Can
trilogy.
I interject for 1 second? Is there no demerits for him cutting me off, going back and forth while I'm talking through my last point there?
No, I figured you were just going to edit that out.
No, that's going to be in there.
No, it's going to be in there?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then I'm going to issue a demerit.
All right, 1 demerit issue to Mike the Greek.
All right.
For all the times you cut me off, I'll accept it. That's all right. It's just, that's what it is.
All right. Here we go, gentlemen. We're going to do this round by round. So, round 1. Indy versus Back to the Future. Well, both movies generated sequels that didn't need to exist. Back to the Future 3, I'm sorry, was a travesty. Should have never existed. Back to the Future 2, yeah, you can almost say the same thing about that, but there were some interesting things. I'm kind of partial to the hoverboard, I'll be quite honest. Whereas Indiana Jones, yeah, Crystal Skull didn't need to be made. Bad idea. Should have been left on the pages of some script somewhere, buried in a warehouse. However, the first 3 Indiana Jones movies, extremely good. I quite enjoyed all 3 of them. So, for this round, I'm going to have to go and side with Indiana Jones.
So you're going round by round? You're not just eliminating from the bottom and going to the back?
Yeah, I'm just going to go round by round.
All right, round by round. All right,
just going to roll with it.
Indy wins round 1.
So, Indy wins round 1. I love Back to the Future movies, don't get me wrong. But if I had to choose, if it was my dying day, and it said, which one of these 2 trilogies do you want to watch? I would have to pick Indiana Jones just because I enjoyed all 3 of the first trilogy movies. Now, round 2, Aliens vs. Die Hard. This is a tough one, okay? You've got very good alien movies with very good directors, strong casts. Then you've got Die Hard, which I do agree has kind of trailed off a little bit. Now,
kudos to Mike for fucking trying to defend Die Hard. I mean,
no,
I don't
absolutely.
fucking envy anybody with that task. You know, now that the debate's over, I really don't envy anybody with that task.
I figured after leading off my Marvel movie debate with Howard the Duck, I think anything's possible at that point.
Fair
there
enough.
you go.
All
right,
right.
so we got Die Hard movies. Now, if we take into account just the first 3 movies, you got Die Hard 1, excellent movie, of course.
Yeah.
You got Die Hard 2. All right, they're doing the best they can, all right. Now you got Die Hard 3, which is not that great of a movie, but it does have Samuel L. Jackson, and he does play a very angry black man.
And
so,
Jeremy Irons is all right.
Yeah, I got to give points to that. Now, we look at Alien. Okay. The first one is good. Alien 2, I actually think, is better than Alien. But Alien 3...
Agreed.
I think I fell asleep during that. So this is a very tough call to make because 1 and 2 were both good. It's tough. But I'm going to have to say that Alien 1... I'm going to cut the third movies out of both of these. All right? Fuck
So much for the trilogy
fuck
debate.
the trilogy in this one. All right? I really just...
I think we should start off with these two.
in order to make sense for this, all right, I got to say that, both movies had a very good part 1 and part 2, but Aliens did have a better 1 and 2 than Die Hard 1 and 2, which is hard. Now, if I could go outside the trilogy, I was actually a huge fan of Die Hard 4. Believe it or not.
You just like Kevin Smith in it.
I like the story as a whole.
Yeah, it's fucking great.
I like Justin Long.
It's the stuff that dreams are made of. You only like Justin Long because he's in all the fucking Mac commercials.
Yeah, whatever.
Kevin Smith had a pretty entertaining cameo as well.
Pretty entertaining fucking waste of time. Just like in Daredevil.
All right, we're moving on. All right, so far, Indiana Jones and Aliens has taken this. Now, Spider-Man versus Nolan's Batman. Mike, I'm sorry. This just isn't gonna happen. I don't even know if I could fairly. I can't even justify it. Okay, the first one was good. I'll give you that. The upside down kiss, that shit was hot. Okay, it's pouring rain upside down. That shit was hot. I'll give you that. Like if that was me in that movie, I would have been like sporting major. Okay, never mind. Family show, but
major spandex Spidey wood.
Yeah, there you go. All right, so Webb would have been shooting out of. Okay,
yeah.
So
web shooter. Yeah.
Spider-Man 1, good movie. The CG, I mean, for the time when that movie came out,
I
was
fucking
cutting
hate
edge.
Green Goblin in it. The design is so fucking horrible.
Let's take.
He
that
looks
out.
like such a fucking Deadite from Army of Darkness. It is fucking bad. It's so on.
All right. Let's take that out of the. Let's just say Spider-Man 1, great movie.
Oh, it is good.
I could have gone without Spider-Man 2 and 3.
Actually, I think Spider-Man 2 is stronger. I think it's the
Really?
strongest of the three.
Yeah, I think you guys are being way too hard on Spider-Man 2 right now. That was
No. Spider-Man 2 is the strongest of the three. Spider-Man 3 is fucking horrible, though.
Spider-Man 3 was bad. My favorite part of that movie, though, had to be where, he does the freaking dance inside of...
Oh, my God. Emo fucking Peter Parker.
Okay, like, you're talking about, like, number 2s? Like, Temple of Doom is, like, the weakest indie. I mean, honestly, I watched it again. It's so cheesy.
It is.
There's
It's
no
just
arguments,
so
man.
The element of, like, the edginess, honestly, as a number 2, I would take. I don't really...
Fair enough.
Temple is fucking horrible. It's my least favorite. I might even like parts of Crystal Skull over Temple of Doom.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, we look at Christopher Nolan's Batman. All right, the Batman Begins is a movie I could watch
This
over and
follows
over
like
again.
the same pattern as Alien, the Alien
it does.
saga.
It does. You've got 1 and 2, and 2 is really even better than 1, but 1 is fantastic.
Yeah.
1 gives you the Batman story.
I actually like
you never
Batman
got
Begins
before.
better than The Dark Knight, but I
Yeah.
can appreciate
Same
The
here.
Dark Knight more.
Yeah, it's like that movie.
It was a very bold movie. What The Dark Knight was. Again,
Yeah.
my problem with it was too long. But
was
they were
too
trying
long.
to do a lot.
Yeah.
And
It was
hit or
too
miss.
long. It was the.
They could have kept Two-Face for number 3
That was
instead
and that
of
was my point when I cut you off at that point. I'm like, seriously, if you want to talk about killing off a character too soon, I felt like, wow, we just got introduced to Two-Face, and all of a sudden, boom, half an hour later, he's dead. That's it was the Darth Maul
agreed.
syndrome.
Well, from what I understand, I mean, wasn't the Joker supposed to carry over into 3, and that just never happened?
Well, they never
obviously,
had
but-
the script written. I mean, he was supposed to be caught like he is in The Dark Knight. And
Sure.
They didn't have the script written because Nolan for the longest time didn't decide on doing a trilogy until he had a story that would work. But obviously Heath died before they were done cutting.
Yeah.
The
That's
Dark
what
Knight.
really threw everything in the mix. It's just I
Yeah.
think it was just a lot of reactionary writing, editing. Like, I mean, I think they were scrambling to get a movie made at that point. And
Well, and I mean, you got to feel bad for Chris Nolan. I mean, even Sam
Absolutely.
Raimi. I mean, how do those guys got to top the second entry, which is arguably the best in each of the cases?
Yep.
And how the fuck do you do that? That's a really hard thing to do.
It
So-
is absolutely. That's the thing. It's unfortunately you have to go into Spider-Man 3 territory where you do mess with too many convoluted storylines. Same with Back to the Future 2. It's such a. I mean, the first Back to the Future, like again, we didn't study that in film theory. Like there was a reason we studied it. It's a perfect film, and and I think I guess at the time they thought that maybe they could just throw more money at it and throw more storylines, and that would make it more interesting than the first one. Again, I mean, I watched it again. I still don't really understand why people think it's confusing.
Wake me
I
up
think
when
it
he's
ties up together very well, but yeah, I can see why the average viewer would be like, okay, I'm getting lost here and just trying to figure out the logic rather than enjoying the experience.
Yeah.
All right, so we've got Indiana Jones, Aliens, and Christopher Nolan's Batman.
So apparently I'm the fucking winner.
Absolutely. Hey, it was my own fault because I
let you pick
Batman.
You
should
picked
you should have
whatever you
just
want.
stayed with Batman.
Falls into
yeah.
the wind, and I defended Spider-Man, so it was my own.
All right, so now I have to
dog
decide which stands as the best trilogy out of those three, and this is a very hard choice.
Yeah.
But you know what?
They've each got the late entrant in each of these franchises is by
Yeah.
far the worst. We didn't even talk about Alien Resurrection.
Yeah, no. You know what though? I think I'm ready to make my decision, and as much as I want to go with Batman, as much as I want to go with it, I have to give this award to Indiana Jones.
Boom!
I have to do
That
it
makes
because
sense.
you know what? Even though it's an
Bodes
older
well
set of
for
movies.
indie filmmakers who want to do action adventure films.
I may have been hard on Temple of
Like
Doom there,
unearthly.
but honestly,
No,
that
dude,
was-
I agree with
loved it
you
when I was a
100%. 100%. That campfire scene is fucking brutal.
kid. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, all these films, they have their own
but again,
flaws
it's
to them.
watchable.
But
I mean, I would take Temple of Doom over Die Hard 2. That's for sure, for damn sure. Any Randy Harlan movie, to
I
be
don't
honest.
know, man. There's just so much in Temple of Doom, like the fucking life raft out of the plane, the fact that
It's
Indy doesn't
who's the
shoot.
actress?
But
the blonde. I mean, she was just miscast. It was just
Yeah.
that was mostly the grating thing, and the idea of putting a child sidekick. It didn't work in The Mummy Returns. It definitely didn't work in Temple of Doom. It's just again,
the thing that a lot of people don't know about Temple is that it actually takes place before Raiders.
did not know
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, in the timeline, because Raiders takes place in 39.
it's closer to
and-
4-2, whereas
Yeah.
Temple's
And,
like-
and Temple takes place in 38.
right.
Well, we have a winner. Indiana Jones takes it.
No, the winner is Rob. 3 rounds. Woo!
3 rounds. The endurance.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we'd like
These days I'll
to.
get nailed with a good topic. You'll see.
Better luck next time, my friend. Ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to thank you very much for joining us on the latest edition of The Great Debate. I'd like to congratulate our winner, Rob, and I'd like to thank our always important guest, north of the border, Mike the Greek, for joining us. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you, and good night.
Warning, the Great Debate is not recommended for people to try at home. Many injuries may happen, and of course, you should never discuss Star Wars, the original trilogy, and talk the best trilogies of all.